Welcome to Everything is Final Fantasy. I'm Ira Kreisman.
And I'm Drew Kreisman.
And on this episode, Magic the Gathering is Final Fantasy. Drew, we are at the end of preview season, so all of the Final Fantasy cards have been revealed for the upcoming Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond Final Fantasy set. Which means, this is exciting. I'm excited. I've already put in pre-orders with my local game store. I'm excited.
Fun.
It's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
But one of the things that means is that some of the cards that were revealed after we talked about games 1 through 5, we'll want to go back and talk about at some point. But for now, because the last game we talked about was Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII is also one of the games getting a Commander deck. And Commander is the 100-card singleton format, which means I think we can probably spend about an hour just talking about Final Fantasy VII. And maybe next episode, because 8 and 9 don't have near as many cards to talk about, we can go back and talk about some of the ones from 1 to 5.
Yeah.
All right, good. I like that plan.
I like plans, sort of.
Sure you do. That's been my experience with you.
Yeah, right. All
right. So we are on scryfall.com, art:/FF7. And we're just going to go in alphabetical order here. I will just sort of touch on some of the reprints. But if I skip past anything you really want to talk about, tell me to stop. We can talk about all the things you want to talk about.
Yeah.
We start with Aerith, who gets 2 cards. We've got Aerith Gainsborough and Aerith Last Ancient. Aerith Gainsborough, for 2 generic and a white, you get a 2/2 legendary creature, human cleric. She's got lifelink, and whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Aerith. That seems pretty good. When Aerith Gainsborough dies, put X +1. I know. Put X +1/+1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Aerith Gainsborough. So you gain life, she gets stronger. If she dies for some reason, I don't know why that would happen, but if she does, she puts the same number of counters she had on each legendary creature. And that seems pretty decent.
Passes on her powers. Yeah. I like that. Her power continues to live on and help the team even after she's gone, as it were.
Aerith, the Last Ancient, is green and white. She's a 3/5 human cleric druid. She also has lifelink, and she has the ability Raise. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained a life this turn, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If you gained 7 or more life this turn, return that card to the battlefield instead. I think that's an interesting way to concept the Final Fantasy spell, Raise.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. I also love that she's a druid in this one. She's more magically or rather ancient-y.
Yeah, I was going to say sort of tied to the Ketra.
Yeah, love that.
Aerith Rescue Mission is a sorcery for 3 generic and 1 white, and one of the things I love about Universes Beyond is taking these small story moments, or some of these story moments that have been memed or entered the zeitgeist, and making a card out of it. So you choose one. Take the elevator, or take 59 flights of stairs.
Yes. Excellent. Stars all around. Everybody gets a gold star.
So if you take the elevator, you get 3 1/1 colorless hero creature tokens, which presumably represents Barret, Cloud, and Tifa. If you take 59 flights of stairs, tap up to 3 target creatures because they are exhausted, and put a stun counter on one of them. That one's really exhausted. And one of the things I really liked about Remake was just the heavier your characters feel, the further up they go, the slower they get.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You ever climbed 59 flights of stairs?
I can't imagine that I don't think so. If I did, I blacked out entirely and erased it from my memory.
But you've gone up flights of stairs, right? Like you've done even just 5 or 6 to get to the top of the hotel or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, I'm not doing 59. Although I always choose that. Option because it's funnier.
Right. Armory Automaton is a reprint being played in this case by the Sweeper from Final Fantasy VII. Sephiroth the Savior. This is a really cool piece of art. It's a Tetsuya Nomura piece, and they did that through the ages. All these ones that are skins of reprints from Magic the Gathering. I like Sephiroth playing the part of Atraxa Grand Unifier, Phyrexian Angel, but he's not a Phyrexian. Phyrexian's a very specific Magic thing. On the other hand, this is a really cool card, and he is kind of an angel, so I like the reprint.
It works for me, but I'm going to be less of a stickler about those things.
Yeah. Avalanche of Sector 7. Gosh, I sure hope nothing happens to these guys.
Yeah, they look so happy and alive.
For 2 generic and a red, you get a star 3 legendary creature, human rebel. They have menace, and power is equal to the number of artifacts your opponents control. Killing the planet, Cloud.
Yeah.
Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact they control, Avalanche of Sector 7 deals 1 damage to that player. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, makes sense. I like it.
Barrett gets 2 cards.
Yay!
Barrett Avalanche Leader and Barrett Wallace. Avalanche Leader is 2 generic, a red and a green with those same Sector 7 guys in the background.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 4/4 human rebel with reach, which means he can block creatures with flying. And he's got Avalanche. Whenever an equipment you control enters, create a 2/2 red rebel creature token so you can recruit more rebels. At the beginning of combat on your turn, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to target rebel you control. So more of that equipment interaction that we've seen with other Final Fantasy VII guys.
Gonna pair Barrett with Furion. It's gonna be great.
I'm looking forward to. So they're gonna do a Marvel set, and they did Secret Lairs, and one of them was Captain America, and Captain America interacts with equipment. So I think there's going to be a really cool Captain America Final Fantasy equipment crossover deck that somebody's going to make.
Awesome.
His other card, he's still a rebel with reach. And whenever Barrett Wallace attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of equipped creatures you control to defending player. Yeah, I like it. More party mechanic things. We've got Junin with the big cannon playing the part of Battlefield Forge. I really like seeing Final Fantasy locations being used for some of these iconic Magic card lands. Yeah,
me too. I think I said last time it's one of the things I wasn't expecting to really enjoy about these sets, and one of the reasons why I'm interested in getting a lot of just random packs, even if I don't make decks and play that much. I just think it's really, really cool.
You can just put them in a binder and flip through them now and again. I think that's a perfectly legitimate way to interact with Magic cards. Next, we've got Behemoth Sledge, which is in Magic a giant hammer, and in Final Fantasy VII, Cloud's baseball bat weapon.
Nail bat! There it is!
Absolutely.
I love it.
Bugenhagen, Wise Elder, for a generic and a green. Yeah, he looks great, right? He's not sitting on his ball, but he looks great, and I love the solar system projection around him.
Yeah, it kind of makes him look like the Watcher, speaking of Marvel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So this card is a 1/3 human shaman with reach. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a creature with power 7 or greater, draw a card, tap 1, add 1 mana of any color. So a lot of the commander deck Final Fantasy VII cards have to deal with the number 7. Which is interesting. I'm not sure I think that's an interesting detail that they did not need to include.
Right.
So I'm glad that they did. Buster's Sword. This, I think, is a pretty good card. And as I've said before, I'm not very good at analyzing gameplay Magic cards. Gameplay Magic cards? The gameplay value of a Magic card.
As opposed to the ones you'd have for non... Well, I was just talking about the ones that I would have for non-gameplay purposes.
Exactly.
It's like the people who have couches that you're not allowed to sit on in their house or whatever. Right. It's not for sitting. It's a couch, man.
So the Buster Sword is a 3 generic, colorless artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+2. Its equip cost is 2. All of that is fine. Its ability, though, is Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. And anytime a Magic card has the words without paying its mana cost on it, you gotta be careful because it might be busted.
Okay. Because, yeah, you could potentially make something very expensive free.
Right. And you're dealing at least 3 damage with this. So anything with mana value 3 or less that you can pay for free from your hand, wild.
Now, from a meta standpoint, I just love the idea of, again, we've got all these different Final Fantasy characters who can equip different things. So I love the idea of equipping the Buster Sword to somebody other than Cloud, like to Bartz or something, you know.
Sure. We got Kate Sith, Fortune Teller. For
Yay,
3 generic.
I think.
Yeah, I think.
Yay now. Rebirth, I will say, it's not spoilers, whatever. I've kind of said this a few times before. The Rebirth has not yet undone or explained or but so far it's like, well, this is working better. They still like a lot of things and they got to land it, but at the very least, I'm like, okay, the character doesn't actively make no sense now, so we're at least there.
Good.
Yeah.
So for 3 generic and a raid, you get a 3/3 legendary artifact creature, Cat Moogle. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if the artifact is the Moogle or the cat or both, but it's a cat and a Moogle, and I love it.
Yeah, hard to argue with that.
At the beginning of combat on your turn, scry 1, then exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you exile a card this way, target creature you control gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is that card's mana value.
Huh?
Yeah, so you get to look at the top card of your library, decide to put it, scry 1 means look at the top card, you put it back or you put it on the bottom, and then you exile the top card of your library. So you get to filter, right? If it's a land, that wouldn't have any value. So you might put that at the bottom, and then it's still a luck-based thing, which makes sense for Sith, the fortune teller / dice thrower / gambler. Call the Mountain Chocobo. I love that chocobos have a real strong typal theme throughout the set. Birds,
yeah,
red-green birds, maybe green-white birds, could be a real deck.
That's
in this
awesome.
case, it's sorcery. Search your library for a mountain card, reveal it, put it into your hands. So searching for lands and getting them out of your deck is always good. Create a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land you control enters, this token gets +1/+0 until end of turn, which most of the chocobos have. We've got Chocobo Racetrack. I think it's cool that the Chocobo Racetrack gets to be a card. For 3 generic and 2 green, you get an artifact. And whenever a land you control enters, create a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land you control enters, this token gets +1/+0. So I think there's going to be a really cool landfall deck starring a wide variety of chocobos, plus other green birds. There aren't a lot of green birds that are viable or that are going to be good in a deck like this, but Birds of Paradise is a green bird. Owlbear Cub, I think it'd be great to have an Owlbear in your green bird deck. I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to do with chocobos. Cinder Glade is a reprint of a Magic card, in this part being played by Wutai. I think that's pretty cool. Sid gets 2 cards, but one of them is Sid, Timeless Artificer, which we talked about a couple episodes ago, where the Timeless Artificer is portrayed by each of the 15 Sids over 16 games. But his other one is Sid, Free Flyer Pilot, who's a human warrior pilot. Equipment and vehicle spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, which makes a lot of sense. He's got jump. Most of the Dragoons have jump, which means during your turn, Sid has flying. And 2 in a tap, return target equipment or vehicle card from your graveyard to your hand. Perfect.
And we haven't been doing too many of these yet, but you got to love the flavor text on this one that says, "I'm Sid, that's who the hell I am. Now just let me handle it."
Perfect. I love it.
Thank you.
Hey, Drew, what do you think of the reprint of Clever Concealment?
I like the pretty dresses.
I like that they included one of the most iconic moments, but how would you include that in a Magic card? Well, we've got this card called Clever Concealment. Let's have the ladies all dressed up in their pretty dresses.
Love it.
Cloud gets 3 cards, and we've already talked about 2 of them. Cloud again. Why is he doing everything? Because he's enormously popular. This is what we sound like when we complain about how many cards Final Fantasy XIV got.
Right. A little bit.
The one we haven't talked about is Cloud Midgar Mercenary. For 2 white, you get a 2/1 legendary creature human soldier mercenary. Correct, as we've mentioned before. When he enters, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. As long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So if you've equipped Cloud with that Buster Sword, you're going to get to play 2 things for free, which seems unfair.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert in the game or whatever, but using Cloud Strife to break the game also seems... yeah.
Now, I can't remember...
People are going to love it.
I can't remember if we've talked about tiered cards yet, but we've got some cards that have multiple things. You can pay multiple extra mana or costs in order to get more effects. So Cloud's Limit Break is an instant with tiered. So Cross Slash pays 0 extra, so just pay the regular 2 and destroy target tap creature. Fair enough. But if you pay 1 extra, you get Blade Beam. Destroy any number of target tap creatures with different controllers. So again, if you're playing Commander, you're playing against 3 or more other people, that can be pretty good. If you pay 3 and a white extra, so 6 total, destroy all tapped creatures. And they name that one Omni Slash.
Wow. Destroy all tapped creatures. Neat.
And I just like that I like the tiered mechanic. There's sort of this joke in Magic that all mechanics are either flying or kicker. Kicker is pay an extra cost, get an extra effect. So in a way, they created that one fairly early in the game. And Mark Rosewater has talked about how that kind of hamstrung them, like everything's just kicker. But they decide to kind of ignore that and make kicker-like mechanics anyway and call them other things.
Yeah.
But I like that tiered is debuting here because there are other cards that we'll get to that also make sense with tiered. Conformer Shuriken. This is Yuffie's, I think, ultimate weapon, and if I recall correctly, in the game. Speaking of not being an expert in game mechanics.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that in the game it deals more damage if the opponent is higher level.
Right.
So the card is, equipped creature has, whenever this creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. If that creature has a greater power than this creature, put a number of +1/+1 counters on this creature equal to the difference.
Wow, that's cool.
I like it a lot. We've got Aerith in her flower garden in the church for the reprint of Cultivate. We've got Platefall for the reprint of Decimate. And then we've got Diamond Weapon. For 7 generic and 2 green, you get an 8/8 legendary artifact creature elemental. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent card in your graveyard. It's got Reach and Immune. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Diamond Weapon.
Wow.
And what do you think of the way they depicted this monstrosity in art on a Magic card?
Yeah. It almost reminds me more of how it looks in the Final Fantasy 15 movie than how I remember it in Final Fantasy 7, but it's really, really cool.
Then we get what I think of as a classic Final Fantasy spell ability of certain monsters, Eject. For 3 and a blue, this spell can't be countered. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, draw a card. So this is the you can't win this fight anyway, eject you from the battle, or remove 1 party member, so now it's 2-on-1 instead of 3-on-1.
Yeah. And they're running away from the Midgar Zolom.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Elena, Turk Recruit.
Yay, Elena gets a card.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
I love it. For 2 generic and a white, you get a legendary creature, Human Assassin. When Elena enters, return target non-assassin historic card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast an historic spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Elena. So this is her just working with other legendary things, I guess.
Awesome. I love it. I just love that she gets a card. I think it's great. And I like
Me
her
too.
artwork. I think she's got her hands up.
Yeah, she's ready to fight. And remember, you don't have to fight her in Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's pretty great. And I actually think she's going to go really well in my red, white, blue, Eowyn, Legendaries deck. I think she and Aerith Gainsborough will actually go well in that deck.
Awesome.
Ether. Drew, there is a card in Magic the Gathering now called Ether.
Just for Ether.
I think this is the card that you should have 999 of at the end of the game and never use. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's an artifact for 4 mana. I think it's probably going to be a bit slow for standard games. But you tap and exile it, add blue. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, so more magic. You may choose new targets for the copy. And the flavor text, Drew. Are you gonna read it?
Oh, no, I thought you were gonna read it. Sorry.
You've been reading the flavor text. I was gonna.
Okay.
read that.
Just says restores 20 MP.
Yeah, that's the flavor text. You absolutely.
Oh, I didn't realize. I didn't even realize that. God damn it! So that's what was throwing me off. It didn't even look like. Whatever, man. It did. The rest of them are like quotes and stuff. I was like, what?
But that's why I love it, because it's just so innocuous. It's just the description of the item.
Oh, I didn't even realize. I'm just leaving that part of it. I'm gonna edit that so that it works.
You're not gonna edit that out.
I'm gonna edit it in. It's
right.
even worse.
Okay.
God.
Fight on with an exclamation point. That's the name of the song, right? Fight on.
Yes. Or still fighting, or fight it is yeah, but it's the it's that one. So there's a card named after one of the pieces of music.
Yes.
That's phenomenal.
And there's a few. I actually wish there had been more.
Yeah.
We do get You Are Not Alone.
Sure, I've actually seen that one, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty great. This one is an instant return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Not a bad little recursion spell.
Cool.
Game Trail is a red-green land that typically is depicting like where animals would run through a forest. But for Final Fantasy VII, it's the Gold Saucer. Game Trail. Drew, Game Trail. Gosh,
that's great. Oh, that's very clever.
We've got one of Aerith's flowers playing the part of Gilded Lotus for a Secret Lair reprint, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Harmonize. Harmonize is an excellent card. I love this card. They don't usually reprint it because green isn't supposed to draw cards like this. It's just 2 generic, 2 green, draw 3 cards.
Yeah.
But Drew, this art is of Aerith.
Yeah.
She's praying. The light's coming in.
Yeah.
It's a very peaceful piece.
And nothing bad is going to happen.
This is the moment right before. And it took me a while to realize that it wasn't just a generic Aerith praying somewhere, that it was that moment.
Right. Brutal.
We get haste magic. I love that they call the various spells from Final Fantasy X magic. So haste magic, ice magic, sleep magic, that sort of thing.
Right.
Target creature gets +3/+1 and gains haste until end of turn because it's haste magic. Exile the top card of your library. You may play it until your next end step. So a little bit of card draw in red. Heidegger, Shinra Executive. Now, this is a pretty good soldier card, I think. I don't think, though, that I want to play this asshole.
I was going to say.
I'll happily play Elena, right?
Sure.
But Heidegger? Heidegger?
No.
So for 3 generic and a white, he's a 3/3 legendary creature, human soldier. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of soldiers you control. At the beginning of your end step, create a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to the number of opponents who control more creatures than you. Yeah, that seems pretty good and seems flavorful for Heidegger.
Yeah. But no. No, I'm not.
Helitrooper. This is one of those goofy Final Fantasy monster cards, enemy cards. This is he's got propeller gloves, and he's like just sorts of hangs there, and then he's sort of motors over and whacks you with the other one, and then motors back.
Right.
What a goofy Final Fantasy enemy to get a card, but it's kind of a cool card. He's a 1/2 for 2 with flying, and whenever this attacks, another target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. That's fine. What's really good is equip abilities you activate that target this creature cost 2 less to activate. Some of those equip costs are 2, which means they equip for nothing.
Yeah.
They're going to do a secret lair with a bunch of reprints with reskins, essentially, with Final Fantasy names. So Aerith's Kiraga magic is going to play the part of Heroic Intervention, which is a pretty darn good green card.
It looks rad. This is some great artwork.
All right, next page.
Next
They've got inspiring statuary reprinted as frickin' President Shinra's statue in the propaganda museum from Shinra Tower from Remake.
Yeah.
Ugh.
With the flavor text, man thinks highly of himself from Barrett Long. Love it.
Genova, Ancient Calamity. For 2 generic,
Sure.
a black, and a green, you get a 1/5 legendary creature, Alien. They decided to start printing Alien as a creature type because the next in-universe Magic set is going to be their Space Opera set, which is pretty darn cool.
Cool.
At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Genova's power on up to 1 other target creature. That creature becomes a mutant in addition to its other types. The genomes from Final Fantasy IX are also mutants in Magic parlance.
Very clever.
Whenever a mutant you control dies during your turn, you draw cards equal to its power. The other thing is that I think the mutants from X-Men are going to start getting cards in that Marvel set they're going to put out.
I was going to say, I can think of some other mutants. Obviously, when I hear that word, there's it always brings to mind that group of heroes. And so, yeah, the idea of having a group of X-Men that are also being aided by Genova is fascinating and interesting. I gotta say, she looks good here. This is among the sexiest Genova's ever looked.
This is a pretty good piece, yeah. And I've always thought it was interesting that this alien parasite doesn't look like Lavos. It looks like a woman. It looks like a human woman. And is that because when she landed on Earth, Gaia, that, she's a shapeshifter. So did she take on the form of the people who lived on the planet?
Right.
Midgar, City of Mako. This is one of our 5 adventure towns. So it's a land town. As a land, this land enters tapped, add 1 black. And then it's got an adventure attached to it. For 2 and a black, you get Reactor Raid. You may sacrifice an artifact or creature. If you do, draw 2 cards.
Cool.
So the story it's telling is of the bombing run, the bombing mission.
Yeah.
Nibelheim aflame.
Rude.
This is the moment that terrified us as children.
Right.
Choose target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, discard your hand and draw 4 cards. So you choose your strongest creature. You have it deal damage to the entire town of Nibelheim. And then you can do it again because it's got flashback. So you can cast it from your graveyard. And if you do that, you also get to draw 4 cards because this is, of course, Sephiroth's Epiphany.
And the artwork is exactly what you would expect. It's him standing there in the fire.
Yeah, just barely looking over his shoulder
people.
at us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, where's my Sephiroth and fire card?
What do you think of this reprint of Path of Ancestry?
It's a beautiful image of Red 13 and Seto
Yeah.
looking up at the moon.
And
Sad.
Sento cries crystal tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Again, we've talked about how sometimes the reinterpretation of the Magic card through a Final Fantasy lens can be a lot of fun. So speaking
Yeah.
of which, Plains, just a basic land Plains, is the Undercity, and very
Yeah.
specifically, Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven. That's great.
Now this is what it looks like in Remake, right?
Yeah.
One of the things they talked about was they're not doing any sequels or spin-offs, but also that it was going to be really hard with Final Fantasy VII not to do any of the events or characters, but not to draw artistic inspiration from,
Sure.
because low grade polygons versus
Right.
graphics.
Yeah.
Speaking of characters, I don't want to have in my deck.
I was gonna say
because
I'm never playing this card. Of
Professor
all the cards
Oja.
I'm never playing this one the most.
What a greasy creep. For 1 generic and a green, you get a 2/2 legendary creature, Human Scientist. The first activated ability you activate during your turn that targets a creature you control costs 2 less to activate. Gross. Like anybody else. Oh, sure.
Ugh.
It's just a scientist helping people learn their abilities better. This guy? No, that's gross.
Ugh. I'm uncomfortable.
Which I think is the point, right? So well done to
Yeah.
them.
Right.
Whenever one or more creatures you control become the target of an activated ability, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So you target your own guys and you gain knowledge. Gross.
You
Bad science man in the bad science room.
boo. Boo. Boo Hoja. Yeah.
Yeah, Lachlan's right. Boo Hojo.
Yeah.
Rampant Growth. This is a magic reprint, and it appears to be depicting however many hundreds of years later when the planet has reclaimed Midgar.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I wouldn't have expected that. It's also pretty cool that the flavor text on this one from Bugenhagen says, "It is up to the planet to decide. What is best for the planet? What is bad for the planet? All that is bad will disappear." Okay. Are we? Oh, we're bad. Oh, is that?
Oh, we're
Is
the
that us?
baddies.
Oh no. Can just some that is bad disappear?
Reach the Horizon. When I first saw this, assumed it was a Magic the Gathering reprint because search your library for up to 2 basic land cards with different names and put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle is a perfectly normal Magic thing to do. But then I didn't read the whole card. It's basic land cards and or town cards, and towns are new as of the Final Fantasy set.
Oh,
so
cool.
yeah, this is a new card that does a basic Magic thing, and it's a depiction of our heroes having just left Midgar and seeing the horizon and not being in the shadow of the plate.
Yeah.
It's kind of a beautiful piece. And Cloud's on his motorcycle because of course he is.
Right. And again, it does feel like, yeah, they're drawing from Remake here, but also that's totally fine.
Red 13, Proud Warrior.
Yeah. Proud warrior. Very proud warrior. Very, very great art. Very super awesome. I love this.
What do you think of him being named Red 13 instead of Nanaki?
Yeah, I have just started calling him Nanaki for the most part, but although I didn't earlier.
Right.
I noted it in my head when I was like, that's weird. But yeah, I probably would have gone the other way, but I understand it.
He's a legendary creature beast warrior. I'm kind of bummed he's not a dog just because there's a lot of dog synergy in Magic the Gathering.
Oh, okay.
He's a 3/3 with Vigilance and Trample for 3, which is already pretty good. Other modified creatures you control have Vigilance and Trample, so that plays into the equipment a bit, but also you could put him in an enchantment deck where you've got a lot of auras, or if you're moving a lot of counters around. And Cosmo Memory. When Red 13 enters, return target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand.
Yeah.
This next card, I like that they went ahead and had 2 characters on one card like they did for Strago and Realm. And here we get Reno and Rude. And I think that's great.
They're one of my favorite couples in all of Final Fantasy.
They're a 2/1 for 1 and a black, legendary creature, human assassin. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the Assassin's Creed set from last year has a lot of assassin typal synergies. So you could put them and Elena in that deck and maybe get something out of it. Also, cool. Shadow and Interceptor.
Sure.
Whenever Reno and Rude deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. Then you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, you may play the exiled card this turn, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. So dealing damage to somebody and stealing their stuff, essentially.
Awesome. Smash and grab.
Resentful Revelation.
Oh no, Sephiroth's reading a book. Run!
I was going to say the only thing I would have commented on is that the art should be slightly skewed, but it is. If you look at the background, those bookshelves are not level.
Right.
Perfect. Awesome. Exactly correct art.
More gold stars for everybody.
Yeah. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard, and then you can play it from your graveyard because, what's a revelation if you can't have it over and over again?
Sure. Sort of stew on it and make it everything that you are from here on out.
Make it your entire personality, Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Rufus Shinra. For a generic, a white and a black, a 2/4, legendary creature, human noble. Ew.
That said, I'm more inclined to play this one than Heidegger or Hojo, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, and why is that? He's
cute and has a dog.
It's true. I kind of was hoping he would be an assassin, or maybe an assassin noble. That he's just a noble, though, really speaks to that nepotism bullpucky. Because Daddy Shinra dies, and Rufus is on the first helicopter to Shinra Tower, so that he's just a noble, a human noble, is kind of great, actually.
Yeah.
Whenever Rufus Shinra attacks, if you don't control a creature named Darkstar, create Darkstar, a legendary 2/2 white and black dog creature token. So he's a 2/4 for 3 that creates a 2/2. That's 4/6 on the battlefield for 3 mana. He's got to attack, but that's pretty good. I really like Rugged Prairie being being played by Coral, the mining town.
Yeah, the artwork on that's super cool too.
And in the far distance, you see the gold saucer.
Yeah.
The Scorpion Sentinel got a card. For a generic and a blue, you get a 1/4 artifact creature, Robot Scorpion. As long as you control 7 or more lands, this creature gets +3/+0. So there's that number 7 again. And the and the flavor text, Drew, is just tutorial text from Final Fantasy VII.
What's great about it is it's a famous mistranslation or mistake even, because it was so the text is, Barret, be careful, attack while its tail is up, it's going to counterattack with its laser, but you were supposed to not attack while its tail was up.
He does. That's kind of what he says, but it's not clear. Attack while its tail is up, and it's going to a counterattack with its laser.
Right. It's like, wait a minute, guy. But yeah, I love that they, like you said, they've been paying attention not just to the, beloved bits of lore, but also the things that have just kind of taken on a life of their own on the internet, the memes and the mistranslations and all of that.
We didn't get a flavor text with This Guy Are Sick.
I was wondering, because we aren't through the whole set yet, but no, This Guy Are Sick? Bummer.
No, This Guy Are Sick. But
okay.
Even with getting, I think, 120 cards, you can't get everything from Final Fantasy VII in that number of cards. Like, there's no song, for example.
Oh, okay, right.
We've already talked about it, but I want to reiterate. Secret Rendezvous gets 4 different pieces of art, one for each
so
date.
Great. Genius. One of the cleverest things they did in their whole series.
Sephiroth also gets 3 cards.
Ugh.
We already talked about a couple of them. But I do want to talk about Sephiroth Fabled Soldier. For 2 generic and a black, you get a 3/3 legendary creature, Human Avatar Soldier. Whenever Sephiroth enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. If this is the 4th time this ability has resolved this turn, transform Sephiroth.
Sure.
And then on the backside, Drew, he is...
Oh no.
Sephiroth.
Oh no.
One-Winged Angel. So that's also kind of a song title in a card art. And I do want to point out, and we made this joke, everybody makes this joke, he's got like 7 wings.
Right. Yeah, but that one is the one that really counts. The main one. It's the real one.
He's a 5/5 flying angel nightmare avatar. This creature, as this creature transforms into Sephiroth, One-Winged Angel, you get an emblem with, whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. A creature has never created an emblem before. Usually that's what planeswalkers do. An emblem is basically something that exists not on the battlefield, but just for the rest of the game, that you really can't interact with, and just sits there and gives you a benefit for the rest of the game.
Cool.
He's also got, whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other creatures. If you do, draw that many cards. Yeah. So when you attack, you can sacrifice any number of creatures, which is creatures dying, which is opponents losing life and you gaining life because of that emblem. Plus, you get to draw cards. Holy moly!
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable.
You know, I don't think we talked about Sephiroth Fallen Hero last time, and I do want to mention this also. So he's a 7/5 human avatar soldier, Genova cells. Whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may put a cell counter on target creature until end of turn. Each modified creature you control has base power and toughness 7/5. And this Sephiroth's power and toughness is 7/5. So they're becoming copies of him if you modify them. And then he's got the reunion for 3 and sacrifice a modified creature, presumably one of the Sephiroth clones. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped. So that's an ability you play from the graveyard. So he dies, but also these clones, you know, the creatures you've modified, he can destroy them and come back through them. I know I said they're not doing sequels or spin-offs, but isn't that exactly what he does with Kadaj and Advent Children?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, liar fibbers.
Sephiroth's Intervention. This is also right before that card art of Harmonize.
Yeah, just the other angle.
Ugh. Awful. Just awful. For 3 and a black, destroy target creature, you gain 2 life.
So I just want to note that for that card, or the other one where you can sacrifice your own creatures, you can use this Sephiroth's Intervention card where he's getting ready to fall down on Aerith to kill Aerith, because remember with her card, the way it worked, right, is you can keep building up her life, which makes her more and more difficult to kill. She could have very high hit points, which, you know, would make her difficult to deal with. But when she does die, she passes on that power to somebody else. So you could use Sephiroth's Intervention to kill Aerith. Sorry. I know I'm a terrible person. I'm just saying, it does kind of feel like they're, because it doesn't matter what her hit points are. I know I used
toughness, but
Final Fantasy lingo there. Whatever. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, that's just good stuff.
It's really cool, and I actually like that about Magic in general. Even when they do something that is their own universe, sometimes they'll base it on something we're familiar with. So you might get the Arthurian Legend, fairy tale set, right? And so you might get a card that is very obviously based on Pinocchio. And then you might get a card that's very obviously based upon Cinderella or the clock tower or whatever, and then you might have those things interact in ways that they would not have interacted in the original story. And so
interesting, yeah,
being able to sort of tell an alternate version of things, or have things, like having Captain America team up with Cloud for an equipment deck.
Right, that's super cool.
Yeah, you get to tell your own stories or have different experiences, and I think that's something that Magic does really well. In our first episode, we talked about Side Quest, Catch a Fish. And now here we've got Side Quest, Raise a Chocobo.
For a very, very long time, spend an absurd number of hours on the internet researching. I'm actually reading off the card. It says, first go to the very early days of Google didn't exist yet, AOL online chat rooms, and find people who know how to raise a gold chocobo. Do everything they said step by step and still not get one. Then, oh no, what does it?
When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land you control enters, this token gets +1/+0 until end of turn, which is the standard chocobo ability in Magic now. At the beginning of your first main phase, if you control 4 or more birds, transform this enchantment, and it becomes Black Chocobo.
Awesome.
When this permanent transforms into Black Chocobo, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, and it's got landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, birds you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So all those Chocobos are giving themselves +1/+0 for landfall, but the Black Chocobo is getting everybody +1/+0 when a land enters.
Wow.
Yeah, not bad.
That's fun. Gotta love me some chocobos.
Soldier Military Program is an enchantment for 2 generic and a white, and does this not look like such a propaganda poster for Shinra?
Look at them. Look how great the military is. Shinra needs you.
And it's all that, all those lines going up and to the left, and almost the rays of light from Midgar in the background. Yeah, what a creepy piece of art. Well done.
Yeah. Love
At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. If you control a commander, you may choose both instead. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 soldiers you control. So this is another good soldier card. It's got soldier in the title. Yeah, nicely done.
Yeah.
Spire of Industry is being played in the reprint by Shinra Tower. Meteor Fall is going to be one of those secret lair cards that I'm going to try to buy in a week or so.
Yeah.
So Meteor Fall as Star of Extinction. And then Memories of Nibelheim playing the part of Stroke of Midnight.
Fun.
And then we get Summon Choco/Mog. Gosh dang it, they just put the name right up there like that, like it is in Final Fantasy VII. Summon Chocomog. And the flavor text, Drew, what is the flavor text?
Wark? Kupo.
So this is another enchantment creature, Saga Bird Moogle. So it's an enchantment creature, Saga. So it's a summon that sticks around for a few turns and then goes away. It's a 3/3, and it's got Stampede. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn for each of its 4 chapters. And I really am building a Tom Bombadil Saga creature commander deck, because Tom Bombadil interacts with stories, interacts with sagas.
Sure. That makes sense.
Summon Fat Chocobo.
Yes.
Which is a 4/4 enchantment creature Saga bird. First chapter is create a 2/2 green bird creature token with the common Chocobo ability now. And Kerplunk. Creatures you control gain trample until end of turn.
Neat.
We've also got Summon Knights of the Round, which has 5 chapters, which is the most chapters of any saga so far. Drew, why do you suppose they would put 5 chapters on Knights of the Round?
Because it takes 45 minutes to complete in the game?
The first 4 chapters are creating 3 2/2 white knight creature tokens, considering this costs 8 mana to cast for a 3/3. That's probably pretty good. And then its last chapter is other creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Put an indestructible counter on each of them, and that seems pretty darn good.
Yeah, I'll take 2 of those, please.
Summon Kujata. Kujata got a card, man. That's cool.
Yeah. I always loved that. That was one of those ones they never came back to, although they did now in Rebirth. And yeah, Kujata is an interesting looking thingy.
In Magic the Gathering, it is a 7/5 Saga Ox. And it's got 3 chapters, Lightning, Ice, and Fire.
There you go.
So Lightning basically casts a Lightning Bolt, deal 3 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. Oh, that's a little better than Lightning Bolt. Ice is up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn. And Fire is discard a card, then draw 2 cards. When you discard a card this way, this creature deals damage equal to that card's mana value to each opponent. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
The Gold Saucer. I love the gold. We talked about this when we talked about Final Fantasy VII. I love the Gold Saucer and I hate it.
Sure.
It's amazing and beautiful, but at what cost? And upon whose back?
Right.
You know, if President Shinra is Donald Trump, then the Gold Saucer is Elon Musk.
He is a building.
Anyway.
He is a symbol, that is for sure. They are, yeah.
Yeah, just excess, right? Just...
Yeah.
And built in a similar way, because the Gold Saucer is above Coral, just as Midgar is above all those towns that used to exist before Midgar was built.
Sure.
So you can tap it for 1 colorless, 2 and a tap, flip a coin. If you win the flip, create a treasure token. 3 and tap, sacrifice 2 artifacts, draw a card. So play a game, make a treasure, or sacrifice your treasures to draw a card.
Yeah, makes sense.
Hey, Drew, do you think the art on the Masamune depicts that sword long enough?
No, could it be a little longer? Could it be more pointed directly at my face? It's a little, okay. Intense, man.
It's a legendary artifact equipment. As long as equipped creature is attacking, it has first strike, because the sword is so long, and must be blocked if able. Equipped creature has, if a creature dying causes a triggered ability of this creature or an emblem you own to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So death triggers trigger twice. And remember, we just talked about how Sephiroth creates that emblem with a death trigger.
Right. Intense. A lot of death.
Tifa gets 2 cards, and we already talked about one of them, so we'll talk about Tifa Lockhart. She's a 1/2 human monk for 1 and a green. Trample and landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, double Tifa Lockhart's power until end of turn. And I think it's worth reminding us, you folks, that doubling numbers gets out of hand in a hurry. Because you start with 1, but 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 is...
Yeah.
If you're in a dedicated landfall deck, that is not hard to pull off.
Cool. Yeah.
Tifa's Limit Break, also a tiered card. We talked about Clouds, now we get Tifa's. For 1 green, you get Somersault. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. For another 2, you get double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn, and that's Meteor Strikes. And for 6 and a green, in addition to the regular green, you get Final Heaven. Triple target creature's power and toughness until end of turn. So,
wow.
If you Tifa's Limit Break, Tifa Lockhart, and then you play a land, like even if it's just the first one, if she's now if her power is 3, tripling 3, 6, 12, 24.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's awesome. I love it. Tifa's great.
All right, Drew, the next card is Traveling Chocobo. Click on that one because they did something special with Traveling Chocobo. The card reads, 2 and a green, creature bird, it's a 3/2. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. That's pretty decent, especially if we're going to have that landfall green bird deck. If a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And remember, we've already said almost all these chocobos have, when a land comes into play that's a triggered ability, it gets +1/+0. So it's going to be getting +2/+0. But the thing they did is in the Booster Fun printing. So if you go to the right there, you'll see all the different printings of Traveling Chocobo. Yeah. And if you just hover over them, you see, oh, here's one with special art where it's breaking out of the frame. And then below that is a Japanese-only black chocobo. And then below that, it's bright yellow. And then below that, it's pink for some reason. And below that, it's bright blue. And below that, it's bright green. And then the very last one. every once in a while they will do a serialized card. The most infamous was the One Ring.
Okay.
They printed a 1 of 1 for the One Ring.
Oh, geez.
Now, you could get the One Ring just as a regular card, but it was the
Sure.
only serialized one, and it was 1 of 1. And the person who got it sold it to a collector who was a famous rapper with tattoos all over his face.
Okay.
I don't know. I know his name, but I can't.
Okay.
He's a white guy with tattoos all over his face, and he loves Magic the Gathering, and he's a rapper, whatever. So he paid that guy like $1 million for the 1 of 1 One Ring.
Wow.
Traveling Chocobo is not nearly so intense. There will be 77 of them because it's from Final Fantasy VII, and it's a gold Chocobo.
It's pretty rad and cool looking, but
Yeah, I am of two minds of the serialized cards. I've never gotten one, but they're hard to get anyway. Even if they're a serialized run of 500,
sure.
that's, you gotta get really lucky because
Yeah.
who knows who's gonna get that, right? So I think it's a neat thing so long as a consumer, I or you or whomever doesn't feel like, man, I really want to get a gold Chocobo, or I really want to get the 1 of 1 One Ring, or even a serialized, whatever, Edgar Markov
Right.
universes within Magic card.
You can't turn literally into Gollum.
Right.
This is my passion.
Exactly. Post Malone.
Oh, okay.
That's the guy.
Really?
Yeah. He really loves Magic, and he's gone on some of the YouTube shows where they play Magic like as their content, and just played some games with folks and made friends with some of them.
Well, that's cool.
He
Good
seems
for
like a
him.
nice dude.
Yeah, Katie is a big fan. I only know some of his songs, and I think they're all right, but she's into it.
All right, now we've got Ultimate Magic, Holy, and Ultimate Magic, Meteor. And I love how the Holy is from the planet side looking up at Meteor, and the Meteor is from outer space looking down at
That's
Holy
cool.
and the planet.
That's really cool.
They are both
Does Holy totally cancel out Meteor? Or?
kind of. Let's read the cards. So I'm sorry,
Sure.
they're not both instants. Holy Magic is an instant for 2 and a white. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. If this spell was cast from exile, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a massive protection spell. It's also got Foretell, which I love. So Foretell came from originally from the set built around Norse mythology, and usually the Foretell cost is cheaper. So Foretell says, during your turn, you may pay 2 and exile this card from your hand face down, cast it on a later turn for its Foretell cost. So normally you would pay 2 and put it face down, and then the Foretell cost would be 1 or 2 cheaper. In this case, though, it's the same casting cost, and that's because it gets an extra ability if you cast it from exile. So if you foretell it, it gets extra oomph.
Cool.
I also love that because halfway through the game, we learn about Holy and how it's going to be necessary if we're going to survive, right? So it's
Right.
it's well foretold. It's well foreshadowed. Same thing with Meteor. It also has Foretell for the same casting cost.
Right.
Meteor deals 7 damage to each creature. If this spell was cast from exile, for each opponent, choose an artifact or land that opponent controls, destroy the chosen permanent. So you can destroy their city, for example.
And so I shall. Sorry.
And it's also foretold because Meteor hangs in the sky while you run around and
Right.
not play cards, but do all the side quests. Ultima. We've got multiple cards called Ultima, but they're not all from the same game. So I just want to point that out now. Ultima Weapon is a legendary artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature attacks, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Equipped creature gets +7/+7. It costs 7, and it equips for 7 because it's from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, I get it. Sometimes you don't have to out-clever yourself.
So I said we don't get a card of Song, but he is depicted on a card. Unfinished Business. And Unfinished Business is a reprint. So it's, originally from, I think, Eldraine, and it was like a person taking up their father's sword or something. In this case, it's the Turks who really would like to beat us up just one more time, please.
just one more. For old time's sake.
Vincent gets a couple cards, and he gets a limit break. So Vincent's limit break is also tiered. All the limit breaks are tiered. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains. Whenever this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. And it also has the chosen. Gosh dang it! I can read a Magic card. And has the chosen base power and toughness. So if you just pay the regular cost, it's a 3/2. If you add 1, it's a 5/2. If you add 3, it's a 7/2. Galleon Beast, Death Gigas, and Hell Masker.
Yeah, all the monsters he gets to turn into, who are depicted in the background, which I very much appreciate. I like this art a lot.
It is pretty good. Vincent Valentine is a 2/2 legendary creature assassin. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a number of +1/+1 counters on Vincent Valentine equal to that creature's power. Very vampire-y. That's something that Magic the Gathering vampires have. And whenever Vincent Valentine attacks, you may transform it. If you transform it, it becomes the Galleon Beast, a 3/2 werewolf beast with trample and lifelink. And when it dies, return it to the battlefield, tapped, front face up. So cool. Vincent's coming back from the dead a lot. His other version is Vincent Vengeful Atoner. For 2 and a red, you get a 3/3 assassin with menace. And whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on Vincent. Again, very vampire-y. And chaos. Whenever Vincent deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent if Vincent's power is 7 or greater.
Very cool. I love it. I also love that as an assassin, he fits in with the Turks. He used to be a Turk, so you can kind of put him in decks that way and do that sort of, as you talked about, Magic the Gathering style storytelling.
Weapons Vendor is a card. This could be any weapons vendor from any Final Fantasy, but they chose 7. And it's, I think, not bad. He's a 2/2 human artificer. When this creature enters, draw a card at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control an equipment, you may pay 1. When you do, attach target equipment you control to target creature you control. And some equipment have outlandish equip costs, like 10 or sacrifice a creature. But this gets around it. You can just pay 1 and attach it.
Yeah.
Yuffie, Materia Hunter. She's a 3/3 legendary creature, human ninja, for 2 and a red. She has ninjutsu. So return an unblocked attacker you control to hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand, tapped and attacking. And that's an old Magic mechanic that originally debuted in Kamigawa 100 years ago. Cool. When Yuffie enters, gain control of target non-creature artifact for as long as you control Yuffie, because she steals things. Then you may attach an equipment you control to Yuffie. And the last card we'll talk about for Final Fantasy VII, Zack Fair. Oh, Zack. And this is clearly Zack at the end of Crisis Core.
I was going to say, this is not like Zack at the height of his powers.
No. For 1 white, you get a human soldier. He's a 0/1, which seems kind of weak. But sometimes, they did this a lot with the Doctor Who decks. A lot of those companions are just guys. They're just folks. They're just people. But they get their big damn hero moments. So the Magic cards depicting them are usually them in that moment with their big heroic... Because they don't have magic abilities, really. And most of them aren't soldiers or assassins. They're reporters or detectives or whatever. So this is a particular moment for Zack where he enters with a +1/+1 counter on him. So he starts as a 1/2. And 1, sacrifice Zack Fair. God damn it.
Rude.
Usually Magic the Gathering mechanic text doesn't get me emotional.
Yeah, but, sacrifice Zack Fair is a little intense.
Yeah. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Put Zack Fair's counters on that creature and attach an equipment that was attached to Zack Fair to that creature.
So give him the Buster Sword.
Yeah, and whatever other power he might have. So he comes in with a +1/+1 counter, but if you've had him on the battlefield for a while, he might have more. He might have an indestructible counter, not if he's dying. Well, no, because you sacrifice him. So you might have other counters as well, plus an equipment. God damn it, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really, really...
And that's all the cards I wanted to talk about with regards to Final Fantasy VII. Anything I missed, got wrong, or should have mentioned?
That was a lot. I wasn't sure we were gonna make it all in one go, but we did get through there. Of course, 7's gonna get a ton. I know, some people aren't super thrilled that they sort of picked a handful of games they had to do more of, but I think that was always going to be the way. And yeah, there are a handful of these I can look at, like the guy with the helicopter hands, and be like, I could have done with a little more from 3 or 4 or 5 if we were going to do helicopter hands guy. But I get that's not how it works, right? Like I get that they're this, like you said, that some of this stuff has to work together, and sometimes you need stuff that just fits a little bit. That said, this stuff is really, really great, and I am continuously blown away by both the big moments, the things like how you can depict Zack Fair's sacrifice in a card very simply and very beautifully, but even just as we talked about, some of the artwork for the lands, or the little things like getting into raising chocobos and stuff like that. It's,
take the elevator or take the stairs. Yes, those kinds of things. I never would have thought of ways to depict the limit breaks. Right.
That wasn't really something I thought about, and I think those are all really cool and interesting. So I'm blown away by all of this and have no idea how much money I'm about to spend on a game I've not played in quite some time and will be starting from scratch on, but it's above $0.
Right. So when they announced they were going to do this about 2 years ago, I just got an envelope, and whenever I had like a 5 or a 10, I would just start sticking it in there. And it's been 2 years, and I'm going to spend all that cash on Final Fantasy Magic cards.
Planning ahead. I like it. Good.
All right. Stop.